My wife has been secretly making plans with her affair partner to leave me and start a new life with him behind my back, and I'm left wondering what to do next. Hey Reddit. My name is Adam, and I've been married to my wife, Emma, for 8 years. We've had what I thought was a good marriage, complete with its ups and downs like any relationship. We have a 6-year-old son, Ethan, who means the world to both of us, or at least, I thought he did. 2 weeks ago, my entire world came crashing down. It was a regular Wednesday evening, nothing out of the ordinary. Emma had just come home from work, and we were going through our usual evening routine. Ethan was playing with his Legos in the living room, and I was cleaning up after dinner while Emma headed upstairs to take a shower. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I wasn't trying to invade her privacy, but the sound drew my attention. Without thinking, I glanced at the screen. The notification read, "Message from Ryan, I can't wait until we can finally be together without hiding anymore. Let me know if you talked to him yet." I froze. My heart started pounding, and my hands felt clammy as I stared at the screen. I didn't recognize the name Ryan. Emma had never mentioned anyone by that name before. Something about the message made my stomach churn. It wasn't the kind of text you'd send to a friend or coworker. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, but the pit in my stomach wouldn't go away. Against my better judgment, I picked up her phone and unlocked it. What I found shattered any hope I had of there being a reasonable explanation. The conversation between Emma and Ryan was explicit, emotional, and filled with plans for the future. As I scrolled up, I pieced together the timeline of their affair. They had been together for over a year. A year. That's 365 days of lies, secrets, and betrayal. Their messages detailed how they would meet during the times I thought Emma was working late or out with friends. They'd planned getaways, talked about their feelings for each other, and even discussed a future together. Ryan had sent her links to houses in another state, complete with comments like, "This is perfect for us to start over and build a family together." I could barely breathe as I read those words. Build a family? Emma and I already had a family. What about Ethan? How could she even think about leaving him behind? The betrayal was overwhelming, but what struck me the most was the sheer depth of their plans. They'd discussed selling our house, Emma quitting her job, and moving across the country to start fresh. Ryan kept asking Emma when she was going to tell me. That was the part that hurt the most, knowing she'd been actively plotting this behind my back, waiting for the right moment to tear my world apart. When Emma came out of the shower, I confronted her immediately. I didn't even try to hide the fact that I'd gone through her phone. The moment she saw it in my hand, her face went pale. "What's this?" I asked, holding up the phone with Ryan's message still on the screen. She tried to play dumb at first. "What are you talking about? Ryan's just a friend." "A friend?" I snapped, scrolling through their messages and reading aloud some of the more damning parts. Her face turned from pale to red, and I could see the panic setting in. Finally, she broke down and admitted it. She told me she'd been seeing Ryan for over a year and that she was in love with him. She said she'd been unhappy in our marriage for a long time but didn't know how to tell me. I asked her how long she'd been planning to leave, and she couldn't even give me a straight answer. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want to hurt you." Hurt me? The audacity of that statement made my blood boil. She'd been lying to me for over a year, sneaking around behind my back, and making plans to leave me and take our son with her, and she didn't want to hurt me? The rest of that night was a blur. I couldn't even look at her. I slept on the couch, though I barely got any sleep at all. My mind was racing with questions and emotions. How had I been so blind? Had there been signs that I missed? And what was I supposed to do now? The next few days were hell. Emma and I barely spoke, and when we did, it was tense and awkward. She tried to justify her actions, saying that she'd felt neglected in our marriage and that Ryan made her feel alive again. She claimed she didn't want things to end like this, but I could see through her words. She was only upset because I'd found out before she could control the narrative. I tried to go about my daily routine for Ethan's sake, but it was nearly impossible. Every time I looked at Emma, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. She continued to stay in the house, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I started sleeping in the guest room because the thought of sharing a bed with her was unbearable. Ethan, sweet and perceptive as ever, could tell something was wrong. He kept asking me why I seemed sad or why mommy wasn't around as much. I didn't know how to answer him. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that his mother is planning to leave his father for another man? Emma, meanwhile, began spending more time out of the house. She claimed she was staying late at work or catching up with friends, but I knew better. Every time she left, I wondered if she was with Ryan, continuing to plot their future together while I was left to pick up the pieces. I felt like I was drowning. Every decision felt impossible, and I couldn't see a way forward. I considered confronting Ryan, telling him to back off, but I wasn't sure what good that would do. I thought about telling my family or friends, but I felt too ashamed. How could I explain that my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, had been living a double life? I spent hours every night lying awake, staring at the ceiling, and replaying every moment of our marriage in my head. I questioned everything. Was there something I could have done differently? Was I not enough for her? These thoughts consumed me, leaving me feeling broken and powerless. Through it all, the only thing keeping me going was Ethan. He didn't deserve to be caught in the middle of this mess, and I knew I had to find a way to protect him. But the question was how? Update. Thank you so much for all the support and advice on my original post. It means more than I can say. I've read through every comment and message, and I've taken a lot of your suggestions to heart. After I posted, I spent a few days in a fog. Emma continued to act like nothing had happened, which only made me angrier. I couldn't live like that anymore, so I decided to take control of the situation. First, I reached out to a divorce attorney. The consultation was eye-opening and helped me understand my rights and what steps I need to take to protect myself and Ethan. The lawyer advised me to start gathering evidence of Emma's affair, so I've been quietly compiling screenshots of her messages with Ryan and tracking any financial activity that might support my case. I also finally opened up to my best friend, Sarah. She's been my rock through this. She came over the same night I told her and stayed with me while I cried and vented. Sarah reminded me that I don't have to go through this alone, and she's right. As for Emma, she's been spending more time out of the house, which I'm pretty sure is so she can see Ryan. I haven't confronted her again since our initial argument, but I've started setting boundaries. I told her she's no longer allowed to use our joint account for anything related to Ryan, and I've started looking for a place to stay in case I need to leave quickly. The hardest part has been figuring out how to talk to Ethan about all of this. He's too young to understand the details, but he knows something is wrong. He keeps asking why mommy isn't home as much and why daddy is sad all the time. I've been trying to shield him from the worst of it, but it's breaking my heart. Right now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I still feel overwhelmed, but knowing I have a plan in place helps a little. I'll keep you all updated as things progress. Another update. It's been a month since my last update, and so much has happened that I barely know where to begin. First, I officially filed for divorce. Emma was furious when she found out, but I stood my ground. I told her that she made her choice, and now I'm making mine. The divorce process is already messy because Emma is fighting me on everything, from custody arrangements to dividing our assets. My lawyer has been a lifesaver, though, and I feel confident that I'm in good hands. I also finally confronted Ryan. I know some of you advised against it, but I needed to face him for my own closure. I met him at a coffee shop and told him exactly what I thought of him. He was smug and unapologetic, which only made me angrier. He claimed that Emma had told him our marriage was over long before they got together, which I know is a lie. Despite his attitude, confronting Ryan gave me a sense of empowerment. For the first time in months, I felt like I was taking back control of my life. Ethan has been my biggest priority through all of this. I've started taking him to a child therapist to help him process everything, and it seems to be helping. He still has moments where he struggles, but he's a resilient little guy. I'm so proud of him. As for me, I've started going to therapy as well. My therapist has helped me realize that I've spent so much time focusing on Emma and her needs that I've completely lost sight of my own. I'm slowly learning how to put myself first again. The house feels emptier without Emma here, but it's also a little more peaceful. I've started making small changes to make it feel like my space rather than our space. I painted the living room, rearranged the furniture, and bought some new decor. It's a small thing, but it's helping me move forward. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. Final update. It's been 6 months since my original post, and I wanted to share how things have turned out. The divorce is final. It was a long, painful process, but I came out of it stronger than I ever thought I could be. I was awarded primary custody of Ethan, and Emma has visitation rights. The court also ruled in my favor when it came to dividing our assets, which means I was able to keep the house. Emma and Ryan are still together, but I've completely cut them out of my life except for co-parenting arrangements. It's not easy seeing Emma when she picks up Ethan, but I remind myself that I'm doing this for my son. Speaking of Ethan, he's doing so much better. Therapy has worked wonders for him, and he's adjusted to our new normal. We've developed our own little routines and traditions, and it feels like we're building a new life together. As for me, I've started rediscovering who I am outside of being a husband and a dad. I joined a book club, started taking yoga classes, and even went on a couple of dates. I'm not looking for anything serious right now, but it's nice to be reminded that I'm still capable of connecting with someone new. Looking back, I can't believe how far I've come. There were days when I didn't think I'd survive this, but here I am. I'm stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to create a happy, fulfilling life for myself and Ethan. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey. Your kindness and encouragement means a lot.